Time to rewind and open your mind. No late fees to annoy you this time. Video store might be no more, but we're digging up movies worth watching them for. Welcome to Video Store Graveyard, where we dig up movies worth watching or make sure they stay buried where they belong. As always, I'm Dano.
I'm Andrew.
I'm Tex.
And today, we are talking about the American Buddy Cop movie, but specifically the American Buddy Cop zombie comedy called Dead Heat from 1988, starring Treat Williams and Joe Piscopo. And I saw a preview for this as I was scrolling through Amazon Movies one night. I was like, what is that? And I remembered seeing a GIF from this movie of these two guys just continuously blowing each other up with machine guns as they walk down a hall. I was like, how are these guys alive? Well, they're not. I figured it out. It's a zombie movie. A little bit about this movie: these detectives, Roger and Doug, they're classic, buddy cops dealing with everything, and somehow they get called to a scene and they can't seem to kill the bank robbers. And they just keep shooting them, and they're like, why are these guys dying? And so it turns out they're zombies, and there's this whole conspiracy in this lab. And one of our faithful buddies, Treat Williams, gets turned into a zombie himself. Of course, these aren't your dumb zombies eating brains. They're just bodies that are deteriorating really fast, and but they're zombies. And so,
Right.
hence the name Dead Heat.
It's a weird form of zombies where they're not technically zombies, but it's like, they did technically die and they reanimated them. I guess this could be categorized as a zombie flick. It has some elements of horror here and there, and it mostly has comedy and action, but there's a little bit of horror that at least I thought worked.
Well, the effects, they got great gore effects, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
And that was part of the fun of the movie to me, was some of these, especially when the girl or whatever, that you find out she's a zombie, and Jesus, that was pretty graphic.
I will say, if you want to watch any part of this movie, just go to the 59-minute mark and watch that scene. And watch everything beyond that. Although I will say some of the effects are a little spotty in that point when the body's deteriorating. It's clearly makeup on that dude. Which I don't think his body starts decaying until that point. I mean, obviously he starts having bags and stuff like that, but not deteriorating.
Well, anyway, I like the idea, the dynamic that they brought into this, because I'm not a super big buddy cop guy person anyway. I mean, I dug the Rush Hours. I never cared for the Lethal Weapons. But this was fun to me and silly and interesting
and stupid
and incredibly dumb. Especially Joe Piscopo's character, who is just this stereotypical grunt cop guy. There's a scene where he's fighting a zombie while Treat Williams is imprisoned in this solitary thing, and it just cracked me up. And some of the one-liners in this movie as well. But anyway, I had fun watching it. It is pretty terrible, guys.
Yeah. I'm in the middle because I thought for every bad thing that was in this movie, a one-liner would make me laugh, or I thought, oh, that was a cool little neat special effect, or oh, that was a funny line. And then for every 1/3 of that, there would be a bad line. There would be dialogue that has not aged well with the sexual stuff. And that's that. And I accept this movie for what it is. It's a dumb, stupid, and I feel like it's self-aware a little bit that it knows that it's dumb and stupid. But the thing is, part of it does take itself seriously. So that's where I'm in the middle. Tex, got any thoughts there?
Just a couple quick, just like factozoids or whatever. Vincent Price is also in this, and how they convinced him to be in this movie. I would actually like, if anyone knows how they convinced Vincent Price to be in this garbage, I'd really like to know. Robert Picardo is also in this movie, and who else I was looking at? and Darren McGavin, old school actor. Lindsay Frost is the main female character, and I actually kind of appreciated her snarkiness. Um, but overall, no, this was slightly difficult to get through. Not as difficult to get through as what was
Microwave
that?
Massacre.
Yeah.
Well, that's the one by which all are judged.
But you know, another fact is that this movie came out in the same year as Red Heat, which I was wondering if these like competing filmmakers knew what they were doing, and one was making a serious action buddy movie with Arnold with Red Heat, and then this Joe Piscopo Dead Heat comedy kind of. You know, if anyone knows anything about that too, that would be cool to know. Um, but
I'd assume
honestly,
so.
no, some of the special effects, I agree with you guys. Some of the gore effects were kind of cool. That monster, which is credited as the Thing,
Oh.
that three-headed like I don't know, cannibal redneck, whatever he is.
Yes.
Crazy.
I guess
That
so,
thing
yeah.
actually looked really gnarly. I appreciated that, and some of the special effects were cool. Treat Williams deteriorating, you know, the way he looked from minute to minute in the movie. You could tell that he was becoming more dead. I gotta say, Joe Piscopo really creeped me out in this movie because whenever he would come out, he would stare into the camera with that stare and this big buggy eyes. And sometimes I found myself covering my eyes and like, don't look at me, Joe. That's creepy. Don't look at me like that. Um, and so uh, I don't feel like Joe Piscopo's role was it was pretty
He
bad.
wasn't very good, in my
Some of
opinion,
his
either.
lines were terrible. Some of his timing was terrible. And again, his buggy eye stares. Oy. Treat Williams was no better to me. I was wondering after this movie, I'm like, how was Treat Williams a superstar back in that day? Because, I mean, he was. This movie, I don't know.
Well, you got to take into effect that this is a very, very low budget movie, and that said, they did do the best that they could with at least the effects. Not that clearly the money was not put into the script because not every joke is great, and what moments that you're supposed to take seriously, like the partner dying, are undercut by mediocre jokes that just aren't funny. And then there's like specifically the scene where they go into the I believe it was the Chinese restaurant, I believe. That was a moment that was kind of cringy when they were starting to make jokes that I thought were a little insensitive, but I'd like to hear your guys' input on that at least. But there was a really that was a really good scene in the sense that the effects were good, but I thought the dialogue was kind of you can't say shit like that today.
Well, I thought it was exactly what I'd expect a couple of cops to say if they walked into a Chinese restaurant. So, by that way, I think it still holds true, especially if one of those cops is Joe Piscopo with his buggy eyes, as Tex said. The 80s and 90s, and even now, the movies aren't always as woke as the movies are these days, but
I'm not asking it to be that. No, I'm not.
No, I know
asking
you're not asking it to be, but I'm saying that you're gonna see that a lot, and a lot of the stuff that Video Store Graveyard covers.
Right.
As the Disney Plus quote says at the beginning of it, these movies might contain cultural references that are outdated.
It's just like all the airplane jokes, those you can't even do today. This is kind of the similar thing. I mean, this movie doesn't quite go that far, but that was the one scene where I was like, yeah, this is where I'm kind of cringing.
Did you say airplane?
Like, airplane, yeah.
Hey,
airplane has some.
Excuse me, stewardess. I speak jive like that.
That's the most calm joke in the movie, in my opinion, because there's some jokes that could not be made today.
No, they could still be made because they're jokes. Jokes can be made
Yeah,
in
you
any
could do
form.
it the right way.
But the thing is, we live in this world where everybody gets offended, and if it's not politically correct, then everybody gets upset.
I think if you do it the right way, I mean, look at White Chicks. You know,
Mm-hmm.
look at what they did. I mean,
Fair
I know
point.
that movie's not exactly the most recent movie, but it's also not the most oldest. And I still think that if you do things like that the correct way, you could do it. It's just you have to nail it. You got to nail it. You can't leave
Right.
any room for interpretation. I think you have to, those kinds of things, you have to be clear on what you're trying to say. It's when you leave it up to interpretation when people are like, oh, well, I interpreted that the wrong way, or I didn't interpret that the way you think I should. That's why movies like White Chicks are good, because they they don't leave you interpretation. They make it very clear. Look, we're parodying, we're making a parody of white people in this scene. We're making a parody of Hispanic people in this scene. We're making a parody of black people in this scene. They're real clear, so thus it works. That's my theory.
Right. No, I agree with what you're saying, because if that's true in the sense that stuff like that's why South Park has still existed, because it clearly attacks everybody, not just one person. So I understand 100% what you're saying in that.
I like this. Here's an example of one of those jokes, maybe. Roger, this is for Doug Bigelow. Said, Roger, you were underwater in that jacuzzi for 5 straight minutes. That's right, I was. Can you teach my girlfriend how to do that?
Yeah, that was funny.
Okay, that was actually funny. I like that
Yeah.
scene. That was good. That was
And
quick.
I
It was
think Vincent Price's quote. Here's the thing, Tex. You referred. I didn't know how they got Vincent Price to be in this garbage. First off, show some respect and say hot garbage. Second, he gets to say the line, "God wants us to live forever, and even if he doesn't, you could always buy him off." I think that's the quote that sold him on being in the movie.
I never said that Vincent Price wasn't good in this movie, because he's probably the best part of this movie. I'm just saying, this lowest of trash movies.
You really don't like this one.
oh, come on, man. Come on.
No, not really. It's not. And I was thinking, this movie isn't that bad. It's kind of bad for me, but it's not that bad.
Well, I had fun watching it, and it has its merits and it has its flaws. It
Right.
has some really cheesy dialogue, some stupid one-liners, great gore effects, and lots of shooting at people that don't die.
Yeah.
You know what I think this movie's strength is? The gore effects are definitely worth seeing. If you're into one-liners, which I am, I'm into one-liners in cops movies. Most of them work. Some of them don't. That's all right. 8 out of 10 for me on the one-liners. Yeah, the humor's a little stupid, but I will say there's some good horror elements. Like there's the good restaurant scene with all the animals. Oh my god, that scene freaked me the fuck out. I had nightmares because of that shit. Also, the decaying scene is pretty good, and in general, it wasn't the worst thing I'd ever seen. It makes me want to apologize to the director's next effort. What was it? The Punisher. That was awful. This is a lot better in my opinion.
Oh, that was the Dolph Lundgren Punisher, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
That was the Punisher.
Yeah.
That was the Punisher without the logo, because Marvel was having issues at that point, so they couldn't put the skull logo on him. So it didn't really feel like a Punisher movie to me.
Gotcha.
Hmm.
So anyway,
You say he was the director? Oh yeah, there he is.
No,
Yeah.
I think that was the last movie he directed as well. I don't think he did anything after that, as far as I researched.
Another real quick fact: the writer for Dead Heat, Terry Black, because I was looking at that, I'm like, Terry Black. That it was making me think of Shane Black, and apparently they are related. And if you don't know who Shane Black is, he has been famous since he helped write. I believe he helped write Predator, but let me make sure.
Are they
So is that
related
the
to
guy-
Tory Black at all?
Hold on,
But
was that the guy? Was that the guy who was in the movie, who was the writer who was also in the movie, who was doing
Okay.
one-liners?
He didn't help write it, but he was in it. Yeah, he was the writer. What he did help write was Dano's hated Lethal Weapon and Lethal Weapon 2. But
That makes sense now. That it kind of goes
Hold-
into. Now it's all starting to
hold-
make sense.
and
hold the
Lethal
phone.
Weapon 3 and Lethal Weapon 4. and Iron Man 3
Rewind.
as well. And he did direct the new the Predator movie, I think. Hold on.
Oh, that was crap. That was a crap movie. But yeah, hold on a second. Dano, you don't like Lethal Weapon?
Oh, no,
I'm not a big fan. No, I mean I think they're okay. They're all right.
Oh, I meant just the first one. The rest of them are crap.
I like the one that had Jet Li in it.
Part 4.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
that
the
one was
weakest
okay.
one.
That one was okay.
I like Part 4.
Yeah, but no, they're fun. I just as far as they're kind of like what I think of as the quintessential buddy cop movie, and that's why I was saying I don't normally really like buddy cop movies, but sometimes they're pretty funny or fun. And if it's a buddy cop comedy, I kind of get into it a little bit more. Humor's important for those. Action's important. Stupid dialogue's important for all of them. It's a fun genre, and I liked the twist that Dead Heat brought to it. So there you go.
Do we want to give our ratings then?
Okay. Do you guys want to start? I'll start. How about Addy? That work for you?
I will go ahead and so I was thinking really hard about this because there are no horns up on this one, but I was trying to figure out how many horns down that I want to give.
Yeah, I hear you. It's an important decision.
It is. And I was thinking I'm starting to narrow down, like if I feel a movie's really hard to get through, then I'm not going to give it 1 or 2 horns down. That starts more on the 3 or 4. And since this isn't the worst movie out there, I'm going to go ahead and give it. And I'm still figuring it out with sitting through it, but I'll give this 2 horns down. Because it's not. Again, it's not the worst thing in the world. It's kind of a time capsule of a movie. It's a late 80s movie. I've never disliked Joe Piscopo. I actually do like him. But his role in this was crap. But even though it was crap, I still like him. So, and then Robert Picardo's in it. Vincent Price is in it. It's hard to give a movie that bad of a rating and Vincent Price is in it. So for those reasons, I'll do 2 horns down.
All right, I'll go next then. So, wow. Okay. I'll say this. To start off, I didn't have a struggle getting through this movie. It's only a little bit slightly under an hour and a half, which is not too bad. That said, I kind of enjoyed most of it. There was a couple things that I had criticisms for. One of the strengths is obviously the gore effects, some of the humor, hit or miss, some of the one-liners. The twist is kind of interesting and caught me off guard a little bit. I did barely any research going into this film. Didn't read the description, didn't read the reviews. Was kind of shocked by the partner dying, and I was not aware that they were going to revive him. That was kind of interesting. And quite frankly, I didn't hate this. I can't, however, give it a praising review because it's not the best movie in the world. But I'm going to go ahead and give this a horn up for the effort that was put in with the effects. And some of the jokes aren't terrible. And you know what? It's not the worst movie I've seen in the world. So 1 horn up.
Alrighty. Well, here we go. I thought it was a lot of fun to watch. It was really silly. It was just funny. It just had so much fun, and just watching that one scene over and over of them shooting each other with machine guns at close range, and neither one of them dying. The disintegration sequence, the ridiculous dialogue, and then of course when Piscopo ends up turning into one at the end, and they have to kind of fight, and him reminding him how he's still a human being. I'm gonna go. Let's see. Let us go with let's a horn up. Let's see horns up. We'll do 1 hand of full horns. Wow. A really cool movie, not the greatest of all time, but worth giving it a shot. I thought it was silly. Then again, maybe that 1 horn up or less. They're all gonna laugh at you. Oh yeah, okay, yeah, horn up, 1 horn up. Not the best movie in the world, but enough fun to borderlines that so bad it's good territory. And I think that it's worth watching in the grave, getting out of the graveyard. If you're in an 80s cop movie, but you want a little twist, get it out of the graveyard and give it a watch. Don't do it if just as a passing entertainment. Don't do it as like, don't make big plans. This is
and don't make any plans as far as I'm concerned. My opinion is like don't make any plans on this one. But unless you really want to be nostalgic, if you like nostalgic, then you may like this. But otherwise,
well said, gentlemen. Well said. Well said. Well said. I will say this is something I didn't bring up, but I will say yes, it's a dumb, fun, stupid, fun time. So bad it's good that you'll just laugh at moments that probably aren't supposed to be funny occasionally, but some of it's not actually that bad. So yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Or you'll struggle through and have to find it within yourself just to make it to the end, like Tex.
I'm glad to hear that perspective because I'm like, I was watching it and I was like, you know what? As stupid as this movie can be, the action's not terrible, and maybe the dialogue's not the best, but it's not like The Room bad or anything.
I can imagine Tex. I can imagine you sitting there as like
cursing you. Yeah,
I can just be like, Dano's my friend.
Dano's
my friend. I have to watch this. Dano's making me watch this, but he's my friend, and I'm going to persevere.
What? So Tex, were you having PTSD back to the Greasy Strangler?
No, because you guys were around to help watch that movie.
Fair enough.
Whenever Dano chooses these crappy ass movies now, like no one's around.
For the record, if we had been around, would that have made the viewing experience better?
No, because I thought about that. I'm like, man, this movie sucks.
That's an important observation though for the listeners. So even in groups, maybe this isn't the one for you. So
there are movies that are group movies that help, and I guess this is proof that there are not.
So if the daily holiday happens to be buddy cop movie day, and you're trying to narrow down a movie to watch, and you've seen all the Rush Hours and Lethal Weapons 100,000 times, you've watched Red Heat already, and you're looking for one to do. Die Hard with a Vengeance counts as a buddy cop movie. If you get to that point that you're like, hey, I wonder what it would be like if there was one of these with zombies, then this is the movie for you.
Yeah, but just make sure and disclaimer: these zombies are like normal acting zombies. They act normal.
Because here's the thing, as far as the zombie effects go, there's nothing to like full on say that they're zombies. They're just kind of like decaying, like effects that vary from effect to effect in the facial features. They're not. It's not like Day of the Dead or like Dawn of the Dead or like a George A. Romero. Sorry, George A. Romero. Let me respect the man. R.I.P. Effects, that are like, jarring, like jaws off and shit. Although there is the one scene at the end that does have the jaw moving, which was kind of creepy and freaked me out a little bit.
Well, let's put it this way: they're dead, but they're living. They're undead.
Right. It's kind of like a combination of Frankenstein being a zombie. That's the best way I can put it.
Yeah. Undead. They're undead. Whether they're smart or not, they're undead.
They established that in the one scene where like she's like, what the heck? You don't even have a pulse. That was the part that freaked me out the most. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, I mean, that would freak me out too if I didn't have one. And well, anyway, here's hoping that none of us end up zombies, but if we are, maybe at least we're not cops.
Damn.
As we lead
that is a joke. Respect the blue.
No. We respect everybody with all the stuff going on with the corona and all that, which leads us into our next subject. If we want to discuss that, if YouTube doesn't remove us,
I don't have it.
Just real quick, because we get we're reaching our time to end this, but everyone that's listening, just be safe out there. Take this thing seriously. It's a serious thing. Not everyone in our leadership is taking it seriously, but
right.
Just everyone be safe. Look out for each other, and we're all going to get through it. And instead of saying a bunch of negative stuff that I was wanting to say earlier, I'll just say that everyone just care for each other and look out for each other. Be safe and healthy, and we'll get through this.
That's very mature of you to say, Tex. I'll input my input on this whole coronavirus thing. If you are young and you think that you want to go outside and you want to go party with your friends, you are a fucking idiot and go fuck yourself because you need to care about other people. B, please use hand sanitizer, and also don't be a hand sanitizer hog and buy all the hand sanitizer stock and up the price. C, be respectful of other people who do not have the respiratory or immune systems that you have. It's D, be safe out there. And as much shit as I just said right now, I respect everybody. I hope that everyone is safe. If you have to go out and you have to go to your job, be clean, wash your hands every time you use the bathroom, or just wash your hands in general, because you should always wash your hands. It's always a sanitary thing to do. And that's all I got to say.
Alrighty, and I guess all I have to contribute to that is if you're stuck in self-isolation, go through our back catalog of episodes and join us in Video Store Graveyard. Check out our cast here. Like and subscribe as always. Comment what you feel like you think about all this business, or movies that you like or that you think deserve to be dug up. Maybe we'll look at them. Maybe we won't. But, hey, it never hurts to ask. And, if you're stuck in the house, check out some movies. And there you go.
And I'll go ahead and input a little bit on that. So if you want to go ahead and subscribe to our Patreon for just $1, you heard me correctly, everyone. $1. We will either A, shout out your username if you want to be private but still be shouted out, or B, we will shout out your name. At the end of the episode, we will shout you out for just $1. That's all we ask.
Yeah, also, nothing says awesome like having one of us say your name out loud.
We will all individually say your name, we promise. B, also, because YouTube is a little weird, if you want to go ahead and subscribe to us, you have to click on the subscribe button, and then you have to click on the bell icon to have
the little
all
tiny
your
bell.
notifications, so that way you know when we are subscribed. Go ahead and check out our Facebook page. We try to back catalog all of our episodes as much as we can when we have the time. Also,
I think you got it. I think you covered it.
Well, also, I wanted to mention one more thing. If the coronavirus is not a serious problem in April, we will be all three doing a video review, me and Dano and Tex behind the camera, for Tammy in the T-Rex. If that is still happening in the coronavirus while it's going on, unfortunately, we might have to push that back to a later date, but we will update you before April starts. So, that is all I have to say, folks. If any of you guys have to say anything else, go ahead and you have the floor.
I will just try again to lead us on out of here. Tex, Andrew, always a pleasure. Thanks for listening to Video Store Graveyard. Enjoy the movies, if or don't, and let us know what you think of them. And we hope you'll join us next time when we review yet another classic from the Video Store Graveyard. Peace. Time to rewind and open your mind. No late fees to annoy you this time. Video Store might be no more, but we're digging up movies worth watching them for. Time to power up the VCR. Headed to the graveyard of films near and far. Watching the strangeness we find on the way. Three crazy friendos with plenty to say. Come on our journey if you're so inclined. Leave sanity, hope, and good taste behind. Life isn't easy, but whatever is. Video Store Graveyard is open for biz. Time to rewind and open your mind. No late fees to annoy you this time. Video Store might be no more, but we're digging up movies worth watching them for. Time to rewind and open your mind. No late fees to annoy you this time. Video Store might be no more, but we're digging up movies worth watching them for.